Oh, what's up, brother?
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother?
What's up, Dad?
What's up, guys? I don't know. We're just here to talk about some special teams and some special players.
Whenever I hear somebody say "What's up, brother," I think of Hulk Hogan being like,
What's up, brother? Eat your vitamins and say your prayers.
I've got a bone to pick with you.
You know, rip your shirt open too.
Please don't. Please keep your clothes on.
We are the Dynamite Sports Podcast. I'm Dad, and I'm here with my three sons, Tyler, Noah, and Trey, and we're here to talk to you about sports. It's been a minute since we've been able to check in with our followers, so we're so glad you get to have you guys back here. And so we're going to talk about the world of sports. We got to take a step back. The NCAA tournament was a big focus for us in our household here, and we had a great time watching the tournament. The Yukon Huskies came out on top. Trey is over there smiling like a Cheshire cat because in our brackets, Trey came out on top as the winner. He had Yukon as the winner, and he had the most wins. So Trey, take your victory lap.
Bow to me.
All right.
We won't be back.
Only reason you won is because I didn't play.
"Well, Noah does all of his research, gives me all of these takes, and then suddenly I'm like,
I stand atop alone. Hey, my South Carolina bracket worked.
okay,
Everyone's South Carolina bracket worked.
everyone's Yukon bracket worked." So
Yeah, Noah was very happy because he said he won the women's tournament bracket challenge. He was the only one of us that actually did a women's tournament bracket. So congrats. But speaking of the women's tournament, we've been missing Tyler. And so Tyler was missing from our last podcast because he was not in Florida. He was up in Indiana. So Tyler, talk to
so
us.
sorry.
Oh, that's $5, Trey.
Yeah, really, we got to fine you for that.
Wow.
Put it in the cursed hat.
That was impressive.
Thank you.
So going back, Tyler was in Indiana with the Florida Gulf Coast women's team. And so Tyler, why don't you talk to us about your experience?
Bloomington was actually pretty cool. We also traveled up to Indianapolis. It seems like those are pretty much the only two cool parts of the state. It is the Midwest, so there's a lot of cows and horses.
And corn.
It was overall I had a great time. Unfortunately they didn't win their opening game. Um, I'm not gonna come out and lambast NCAA women's referees, but they were well. Actually, I will. They were atrocious, especially in that game. They're notoriously bad in women's basketball, um, and disappointing end of the year. But you couldn't have really asked for a better game from them. They only lost by 3, even after all of that, to a pretty stacked Indiana roster. Or a pretty stacked Oklahoma roster, excuse me. And Oklahoma ended up keeping it close against Indiana. Indiana came back from like down 20 to keep it close against South Carolina. So, it's a disappointing end of the year, but it's nice to know that we could have made it that far.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you brought the energy. We were looking for you on the broadcast, and we did not see you until the final shot of the game because you were down in the corner of the band with your saxophone.
And I called a foul.
And you were just shaking the fist, calling, "It's a foul! It's a foul!"
It was. Dolly Cairns very obviously gets slapped on the arm on a 3-point attempt. And that was probably the worst missed call. I was doing it the whole game. I had the worst tension headache of my entire life, just from screaming. And it was so loud in there. You have no idea. That place gets echoey and loud.
And the crowd was loud on the telecast also. The women's tournament didn't have many surprises, really. Not a lot of upsets. That FGCU Oklahoma upset would have been a great one, but there really
The
weren't
referees keep it
upsets.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
But even if they did, they certainly got us to the matchups that we wanted to see at the end, with Caitlin Clark having to go through LSU and then having to face down South Carolina, and what a team Dawn Staley had in South Carolina. Those games were super exciting, compelling. The storylines were great. They were competitive. The women's tournament really captured America's attention, and I think it's here to stay.
I mean, even in that UConn game, if you remember, Paige was what everyone thought Caitlin Clark was going to be. Rather, Caitlin Clark is everything we thought Paige was going to be when she first got to NCAA basketball. And unfortunately, she spent a couple of years pretty injured, and she's going to be back next year. So hopefully she gets her ring next year.
Well, it will be great to watch. Yes, she's coming back. LSU is still going to have a great team, and of course, South Carolina is going to be hard to unseat for anybody, I think.
I think
So,
it's pretty easy to say that women's basketball did it better this year, huh?
oh no, they definitely
Just
did, and
because,
the
just
ratings.
because of the storylines.
You can even
And
see it in the viewership. There was at least 3,000 or 3 million or something more um, viewers than the men's tournament. Very
that
obvious.
yeah, some of those Iowa games are the most viewed basketball games in ESPN history. That's
Mhm.
insane.
And
Yeah,
the
And they broke the record every single weekend that they set the
and
previous weekend.
they beat NBA the last several NBA finals. Like you have to go way back.
the
Yeah.
women's tournament finals, it beat the record for the highest viewed national championship ever.
Yeah.
It was more viewed than all but like 8 NCAA football games, which is
Mhm.
ESPN's biggest property
Yeah.
by far. It's insane.
I think the only reason that the women's beat out the men's was because of those storylines. Because if the storylines weren't there, then the men's would have beat it because of all the upsets. Oakland over Kentucky. I can't really
Well,
think of
and the
one.
men's tournament doesn't get those storylines like that anymore because nobody stays around for multiple years.
Correct. Yeah, you like the heyday for me, the peak of the tournament when I was younger was the years that Duke had like Bobby Hurley and Christian Laettner, and you watched them for 4 years, and you either loved them or you hated them, and there was always a foil for Duke, and a team like UNLV or the Fab Five from Michigan,
Mhm.
that would be a totally different style, and it was a battle of styles, and there were so many layers to those, and that was really what made the tournament outstanding back then. But now you're right. The top players, a Christian Laettner or a Chris Webber, would be a one and done and be in the NBA, even if so. Um, Certainly the men's tournament has lost a little bit about that. I think the thing that makes the men's tournament exciting is that there's so little difference now between the blue bloods and those mid-major teams that get into the tournament, that there are a lot of upsets because there's not as much of a difference between the top Power Five conferences and the mid majors.
I think what
Yeah.
would have made that men's tournament good was if Indiana State was in it. Storylines.
That
But
would have been a great storyline. I
yeah,
hear he's entered the portal also, so he's coming back next year and he's
Yeah.
going to move on.
Speaking
Indiana
of
State's
the portal,
head coach was also poached, so
God, we're gonna see Bronny James go into the NBA. I
I don't think I think he's declaring for the draft so that he can work out of the NBA teams. I doubt he actually enters the NBA draft for real. I
Yeah,
mean, let's cut the guy some slack. He had a heart attack like less than 12 months ago.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that people are hitting him too hard right now. He still a
Oh,
good player. Like you can't deny that.
I mean, he'll probably transfer somewhere with an NBA city. And he's only leaving at USC because they're losing their head coach as well. Um, so I think it'll be interesting. I could definitely see him playing at like Syracuse or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So let's transition now to NBA talk, since we're talking a little NBA right now. And so the NBA season is ending actually as we are recording this. We're watching kind of their version of Red Zone here with all these games coming down to the wire. Of course, we hide nothing about this podcast in that the boys are super Homer Miami Heat fans. So the Miami Heat look to be on track for the play-ins, and so Tyler, where do you see the Miami Heat this season, their journey and where they're going?
Well, they're in the bottom 5 in terms of games missed by players in terms of injury, um, or even just load management. But they're the only one that are bottom 5 that are above 500. They're the only ones that are remotely looking at a playoff spot. And even today, they may still be looking at a playoff spot as opposed to a play-in spot. They could be anywhere between the 5th and the 8th seed. That's
So
what's really interesting about the NBA this season is that everyone is very close together, especially in the East. There were 4 or
they
5 teams still looking for playoff spots today, which is the final day of the NBA season. And clinching scenarios included them winning and the Pacers, the Magic, and I believe the 76ers all losing for the fifth seed, which is insane considering that a lot of Miami fans are just absolutely down in their feels.
And as you say that, Tyler, the Miami Heat have clinched the play-in tournament. They will be playing the Sixers.
Yeah, all those games went the wrong direction. Was that a typo? Indiana scored 157 today.
Indiana.
Yeah, that's not a typo. That offense is incredible.
Yep.
But that's also very interesting because the NBA seems to have fixed its officiating problem and fixed its scoring problem. Post All-Star break, this is the lowest scoring has been in something like 20 years.
Mhm.
The under is hit something like 71% of the time I've seen. Post All-Star break, free throws are down. This is the least penalized the NBA has ever been. So that's just incredible. I mean, you may credit that to Joel Embiid just not playing. He shoots like 14 free throws a game. So
So as we move into the playoffs, Noah wanted to talk about some of the end of the year awards in the NBA. So we picked out a few of them. Coach of the year. Who you got, Noah?
I have the amazing coach from Orlando winning that because of their comeback, similar to how we saw D'Amico Ryans this last year in the NFL. I feel like they came off slipping around the whole time, and now they're putting together some good offensive plays. Now they're going to be obviously a playoff team in the fifth seed. So
So that would be Jamal Mosley. He does have a
Mhm.
name. He's
Yeah,
the
Jamal
amazing
Mosley.
coach. Okay, thank you.
not just the amazing coach.
Yeah, I think he's a really good coach. And he's putting together a really good young team.
It is amazing to see the transformation, the Magic being relevant. I actually went to a game last year and got to take them in. They were a fun young squad last year that just didn't have enough juice to win enough games, but this year they're really putting it together. Anybody else have any coach of the year candidates they want to talk about?
I'm going to take Mark Daignault. He's the head coach for the Oklahoma City Thunder. That squad looks absolutely fantastic. He's the favorite right now in terms of betting. But also, he's absolutely elevated that squad since he got there in 2020. He's led the turnaround in this era post Chris Paul, post Russell Westbrook, post Paul George. And this is a fantastic squad that should make a deep run in the playoffs.
I'm gonna agree with Tyler on this one. I feel like he took them from relevant in like that Russell Westbrook, that Chris Paul down to, and then they went irrelevant so quickly, so somehow, and then now they're relevant again, really relevant, in fact.
Well, they were tanking, but they've gotten a ton of young players and high draft picks, including Chet Holmgren, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who they got in exchange for Paul George, and they've gotten Josh Giddey, who is another high draft pick. So it's a Jalen Williams is another one, but that's a very young team. They should be around for a little while.
Yeah, I think really what it should be is GM of the year because they have a bunch of picks and they have a bunch of really good players. All
That would be
that,
Sam Presti.
yeah, Sam Presti should be the coach of the year, if anything, for them because he's got a really good future that he's putting together there too.
I
All
mean, he's
right.
been the GM of the Thunder since they traded away James Harden. So
Hmm.
And Tyler, as a young kid, was an OKC fan, and so
I loved Russell Westbrook.
is this the year for OKC? Is this the chance? Is this the year where they got a shot? Oh, there's the hat. Is this
Yeah,
the-
I've had that
the year
hat
they
since
got
I
a
was
shot?
probably like 12 years old. I unfortunately I don't think this is their year. Minnesota looks absolutely fantastic. Even they still have to get through what the Phoenix Suns, the Golden State Warriors, potentially the Lakers. Those are veteran squads that you can't ever count out in the playoffs. And there are some absolute superstars from the 2010s on those teams. So it's going to be absolutely like a difficult road. My favorite to get out of the West are still the Nuggets. Like, let's not forget about Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. That team is absolutely dominant. So, it might not be their year, but it's coming up.
Well, let's roll back to our end of the year awards. Defensive Player of the Year.
It's so obviously Wemby. I can't choose any other way. I really feel like it's going to be Wemby. I mean, dude, he's just so dominant and he can block anyone. He can play against anyone. And I really think the big three for this award should be Wemby, Gobert, and nobody has said it yet, but I'm going to say it. Bam should be in that big three because Bam can guard anyone. Have you seen him? He can guard Curry. He can guard Jokic. He can guard anyone in the league.
He can-
So I
he
was
can- he- Mm.
I was watching a video the other day, And you guys know those like bubbles that show like percentages, and like the larger the area, the better the player.
Mhm.
It was using that with all these defensive stats, and Bam Adebayo was the second best defender on that list. But far and away, Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is the best defender in this league by a long shot. Wemby has the counting stats, but the team defense is just not there yet for the Spurs. So I think Gobert takes it this year, and Wemby wins the next like up 12. So
Yeah.
The thing about Wemby is that he's gonna block a shot even if he's not in the game.
He's so long that he's just
I
in
think
there.
it's crazy to say this, but Victor Wembanyama's floor is the greatest defender of all time.
Oh yeah.
It's Slender Man.
His
It's
fly-
Slender.
At the very worst, that's what he'll be, is the greatest defender of all time. I don't even think that's an insane thing to say.
Okay, so my next question was supposed to be Rookie of the Year. Do we need to even discuss that?
There's not even a question.
I don't.
DraftKings actually closed their bet making for Rookie of the Year. They're no longer offering that on their website.
That's too funny.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so
can't believe that was even a debate.
Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama. Okay, very good. MVP.
Okay.
Oh boy, I've got a hot take. I'm gonna start this one.
Okay.
So I think it will. So we're talking will be or should be. That's a huge difference.
Give us each one.
Okay, so I think it will be Jokic. He's playing lights out. There's no question about it. But I think it should be Luka
Yes.
Doncic.
Yes, it needs to be Luca.
It should be because
That's the correct take.
Correct,
Yes.
Trey. Perfect.
so his
Perfect
team,
analysis,
so the-
Tony.
the team that he's playing on is not doing very well. Though that's the problem. Is that his team isn't that successful, and team success is a big part of MVP now. I guess.
The
Like, you look at
Mavericks have been the
last
best team in the
MVPs,
NBA
and they
over the
won
last
the
month.
and they won the ring.
Right.
And that's kind of stupid because why? I mean,
The
I guess,
Mavericks are actually set to break the record for offensive rating this season.
and it's
which
all
is
because of Luka.
The amount of points
all
you
because of
score
Luka,
per
let's be
100
honest.
minutes.
Dude, Luca and Kyrie, that's just a duo. Like,
That feels illegal.
I know, like the best handles and maybe the best shooter right now in the
It
league.
is.
Over
it
the
is
last 2 weeks,
truly-
they've looked like the best team in the NBA over the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
It
Mhm.
looks truly like LeBron and Kyrie Irving in 2016 again.
Oh yeah. Luca looks so
Let's not put Luka in LeBron conversation, guys.
I'm putting him in the
That-
LeBron
He
conversation.
plays a
can't
lot like LeBron. I mean, he's 6'7".
no, he does not. They are the same size, and that is it. Luka does not
Okay,
play
fine.
anything like
Fair.
LeBron.
No,
He's a
Luka-
fat white guy. Give us our props, all right?
Hey, don't say that about Luca.
All right.
He is.
I love him,
He's
Brad.
Jokic, but shorter.
All right. So we've talked about a lot of teams through this process here. And so what I want to see is get the early read. We haven't started the playoffs yet, but early read on your finals predictions. Who's coming out of the East and the West for you?
I don't like it. I don't want to say it, but it's the Celtics are going to come out of the East. They just look so good. It's almost no question. I don't think there's much to it. Is there?
Hey Trey, I think you forgot about someone.
Please don't do this.
His name is Playoff Jimmy.
That's fair, but
Jimmy hasn't been able to turn it on at all this season.
Because
That's my
it's not the
problem.
playoffs yet.
The Heat have been their kryptonite. I just don't know if the Heat have enough in the tank this year for
I don't
them.
know if the Heat
Yeah.
would get to Boston.
Harrow's back.
so the thing about the Heat-
Jaime's here. It's time for some shining, amazing Heat basketball.
No, I think we've seen the end of playoff Jimmy.
I'm seeing
I don't think he's got it in the tank. After the last season with the Nuggets, I just can't trust playoff Jimmy.
All right. Well, Noah is on this
Dallas.
bandwagon. He's driving the bandwagon. So Noah, you
Dallas, Miami.
Yeah, and the wheels are coming off, dude. They're in the play-in.
Here they come.
They were 3 minutes away
Watch
from not
this.
leaving the play-in last season. They're there again.
we're gonna have to
They
mark
have
the
to face
video.
Philadelphia.
Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid was on a historic pace
He's
this
not
season
even
before he got hurt.
playing. He's not going to play
He
that.
was going to set the scoring record. He's not going
Uh-uh.
to play the game. It's the play-in.
Embiid's
He
not
has to.
Nah.
He has to. What are you
Nah.
saying?
We're gonna have to save this video. We're gonna have to cut this out because we're gonna come back to this one way or another. We're gonna
Well, you're
come-
going to get
Let's
drawn
wait
and
until
quartered
maybe
for
you're ready. I'm
this.
gonna take my phone and be like, well, you want to take some stuff back now?
You're going to want to take it back,
This
Trey.
is an insane take.
I love my
coming out of the
I
East.
die for my Miami Heat, but this is not the year.
Excuse me. They've come out of the East 3 times in a row, and I have not expected them to come out.
They have not come out of the
even
East 3 times in a row.
3 out of like the last 4 years. Sorry.
All right, so Tyler, be the voice
Two
of
out of the last four.
Who do
Two
you-
out of
who-
the last. Two out of the last four. They've come
who
out
do
of
you
the East.
have in the
They
finals?
have to go through the Boston Celtics, who were a historically good team before they decided to rest their starters for the rest of the year. They were at like 55 wins before anyone was at 50. Okay, that's number one. Even if Giannis is hurt, they still have to face Damian Lillard, who has looked like he's carrying the Bucks for the entire season. They're like 1-12 without him. Okay. And then they have to face the Pacers, who they haven't been able to beat. I'm sorry, I'm a huge Miami Heat fan, but this is not the year. This is gonna look like 2021 all over again. They're
I
gonna
can't
be
wait for
first.
this
They're gonna
day.
be first round
I
exits.
can't wait.
That's
for this.
okay. I'm in the right here.
Noah is
They're gonna
dying on
struggle
this
to get
hill.
out. They're gonna struggle to get out of the play-in against Philadelphia. They struggled to get out of the play-in last year against Chicago. Chicago's like a
problem-
lottery team this year.
The problem isn't the Heat. The problem is
The problem is the competition.
the problem is the entire East.
Jimmy has to turn it up to 11 like he never has before. He's got to put up 50 points a game, much
He's
less
got to turn it up
40.
to 20.
I get that he was really good last year,
Good.
but it wasn't even him that was carrying them through games. It was Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, and Max Strus. Two of those guys aren't on the roster, and Caleb Martin is stealing money actively from the Miami Heat organization. Dude's been terrible the last couple weeks.
Now, is it a bigger robbery than Joe Burrow?
No. Haywood Highsmith has been their leading scorer over the last week or so. Like,
Yeah.
this is not a playoff team right now.
All right, well then tell us who your finals teams are, Tyler.
Out of the East, I will probably take the Boston Celtics, as much as it pains me to say it. There's just nobody else that compares to them when they're healthy, when they're playing everybody. And then out of the West, I'm taking the Nuggets. It's going to be unstoppable for force versus immovable object. And Nikola Jokic is actually both of those things, the unstoppable force and the immovable object. So
So Tyler's got
and I
Boston.
think the Nuggets are just going to repeat. I don't see anybody beating Jokic.
For the record, Tyler's got Boston and Denver. Trey, who did you have again?
I had Boston and I had OKC.
All right, and Noah, you have Miami and
Dallas.
Dallas. Okay, I was Boston, Denver, also with my prediction for the record, but I don't have as much of a strong opinion on this. Okay, we got to cool it down a little bit, so let's talk about a sport that moves a little bit slower, and let's turn our attention to the Major League Baseball season. It is underway. Hometown Rays-
A little bit slower. I love
Boring.
Our
Just
hometown
kidding, I went to a
Rays
game a couple weeks ago.
are 8-7 currently. They're up big right now, so they could be 9-7. So the Rays start, guys. Is it what you expected? Are you disappointed? Are you excited? Where do you stand with the Rays?
I am very disappointed. Like by far.
This is exactly what I expected.
So tell us why you're disappointed, Trey.
Because we went 15-0 last year. We went 25-3. I was disappointed by the end of the year, but now I think I'm even more disappointed because we started off 25-3 last year, and now we're starting off 8-7. That's
This is a
just
very different roster from last year.
it doesn't sit right. That
We're
we're
going to
like
struggle to make a
losing
wild card game.
players.
But that's not surprising because, you trade half the roster in the offseason. Like,
And you
there's not
lose-
going to be any chemistry. And
You
they're
lose
just not going to
number
be
one
as good.
Prospects too.
The problem. Okay, so we used to be really, really good at recognizing when players were falling off. But now we're just trading away assets. We traded away Luke Rayleigh. He was good.
Well, and I'm going to recognize that Davinsky has fallen off as well.
I don't even know who that is.
Yesterday's final score was, I believe, 10-1, and that is the pitcher was Davinsky. So
Okay, fair enough. Well, I think it's also fair to recognize that we got rid of Tyler Glass now, who's had three Tommy John surgeries now.
Mhm.
Like he
pitching
wasn't
staff.
going to be good. He's not going
What
to come back.
happened to that pitching staff, that 2021 pitching staff? So
Well,
much can change in 3 years.
I mean, Blake Snell, they couldn't pay him. Tyler Glass now couldn't pay him. Rich Hill could. He's
Charlie Morton
45. So
Didn't pay him.
well, and we've got some major arms. McClanahan is injured, and hopefully we'll get him back. Springs, same
I mean,
thing.
when they're healthy, it'll be one of the best pitching staffs in the league. But they're
if,
just not
if we
healthy
can
right
hang
now.
around the wild card for August and get those two guys back, that might be a difference maker. But yeah, right now, disappointing to me. Certainly not the start I expected either. I didn't expect 15-0. That was a pretty big anomaly last year, and they definitely regressed to the mean after that hot start. But we to me, the pitching is one thing, but I just don't see the offense really so far. So I'm hoping the bats can pick up because that's really what we need.
This
I'm gonna say it because the loss of Franco was a really big undermining because he was one of the best shortstops in the league last year, and then he just goes away. And then Taylor Walls fills in, and Taylor Walls looks really good. And now Walls hasn't even played this year because he's been hurt.
No, they've been leaning on Caballero at shortstop. I've seen him already make some mistakes in the field, which is disappointing because I mean we didn't have to worry. Franco didn't make mistakes or errors at shortstop, and he was a huge part of the offense. I mean, a huge bat, hit for average, hit for power, and so that is a huge disappointment for the Rays. They've still got him on the roster, but there's no way he's going to play for them again. They're just
He's never gonna put on the uniform. Again.
legalities to play out so that he can't. So they
Walk
owe
out of the
him money.
dugout and straight into a prison cell. Hopefully,
Yeah.
dude needs to go away forever. I'm not even disappointed by this Rays team. It is what it is. This is what it is every time they make a couple playoff runs in a row and then they have to rebuild the roster because they refuse to pay anybody.
But
This is what
this year
happened.
they've spent actually more money than they've ever spent on a roster. That was a big deal,
Which is insane.
in spring
But
training.
that's also what we saw like 2014 through 2019 before they started making playoff runs again.
the problem with this, why I am most disappointed. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay.
Oh,
I can
yeah,
keep going.
Oh yeah, because we're winning 10-1 or we're losing 10-1.
Yeah, this is a very very streaky team. When the bats are hot, the bats are hot. But when the
Bats are
pitching
cold, the
is
bats are
cold,
freezing.
I mean, yesterday they lost forever to nothing. Like
It was 10-1.
and today it's 8-2.
they're up 8-2. Yeah.
Like this is not
This isn't this. It doesn't. You're messing with my heart.
the inconsistency.
This is just the way the MLB is now, though. I think
It's such
you hit a couple home runs, and that's the only way you're gonna end up scoring. So
9-3, 5-2, 4-1, 10-7. We lost like 5. We lost like almost all of those games.
And then two more things about the Rays. We lost Margot and we also lost Siri every once in a while because he gets hurt so much. But it's a big issue.
All right, so we hope the Rays can definitely turn it up. A 500 record is not going to make it to the playoffs, so we hope they can find their footing soon and you get themselves ready and in playoff contention. But another big thing that we're going to turn our focus to soon is the NFL draft. And Noah is our crack research staff, a one-man band, and so he's been doing a lot of research on backs, particularly he calls it corners and quarters, but I also see a safety on the list, and I also see a guy that kind of plays a bunch of positions, but these are quarterbacks and cornerbacks, and these are his top 10 most underrated defensive backs and quarterbacks. So Noah, why don't you walk us through this?
Number 10, Jordan Travis. He may be hurt, but he also is really good. Only 2 interceptions. I mean, this guy's gonna dominate. And it's a really cheap draft pick for him. To get a top tier quarterback out of this draft class.
By the way, this is not the best quarterbacks and cornerbacks. This is the most underrated.
Correct.
Let's just make that clear.
Number 9, Keydon Slovis.
You gonna give yourself some fanfare? There you go.
There you go. From BYU, Pitt, and USC.
That may or may not be a future name Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's not what I would have expected, but he's got the physicals. And he was 71.9% completion percentage, which is through the roof. Number 8, Tyler Owens. It's our first safety on the list. I would comp him to Isaiah Simmons. He's the most athletic safety in the draft. He had a broad jump of 12'2", and his wingspan is 6'7".
12-2.
12-2.
Jeez.
Oh,
He is
guy could jump out of the building.
Yeah. Number 8, our first name that
7.
would. Yeah, number 7. No, it's 8.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you're right. Number 7.
Yeah, I thought so.
Number
Nice.
7, Cooper DeJean. From Iowa. I think this guy is like Tyrann Mathieu. He's a really good safety, and he can switch in between corner and safety a lot. He plays a lot like Tyrann Mathieu, especially the way he hits. And it'll be helping with the new tackle rule because he doesn't use that kind of tackle a lot. Number 6, a guy who I think is the best corner in the draft, Quinyon Mitchell. From Toledo, he had 18 passes defensed. His 40 is 4.33. I comp him to Jalen Ramsey.
A 38-inch vert.
Yeah, this guy's insane. At number 5, Tyler Nubin.
Second guy named Tyler on the list.
Also another safety.
It's a pretty popular name.
Yeah, he's from Minnesota. He played alongside Antoine Winfield, which would really help the Bucks, helping add to that chemistry. All right, number 4, the biggest arm in the draft, Joe Milton. This is Eli and Peyton Manning's favorite quarterback. And I actually comped him to Eli Manning in the way that he's actually clutch. Like Eli Manning, we saw him beat Tom Brady. So I would say this guy, he can't beat Patrick Mahomes, but he has that ability in the late of a game to really get out there and run.
I didn't realize he was 6'5".
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you have 102 QBR, what are you doing outside of the second round?
All right. Top 3.
It's a loaded quarterback class, man.
Oh, yeah. Top 3 from Iowa State, the cornerback TJ Tampa.
That would look so good on the back of a Bucks jersey.
Oh, yeah. Jordan Poyer. He's really like Jordan Poyer. He's fast, and he can get around the field. He has the lateral movement that I like in a corner. If anyone can lock up Marvin Harrison Jr., it's this guy.
And for the record, TJ Tampa, a graduate of Lakewood High School here in Pinellas County.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Number 2, quarterback from Tulsa,
Tulsa.
Michael Pratt.
The Golden Hurricanes.
We're talking
He
about
is
Tulsa in the
short
draft.
Josh
What is
Allen.
going on?
This is short
Josh Allen.
Short Josh Allen. Oh, yeah.
What are we talking about?
110.5 quarterback.
I'm sorry, but
rating.
isn't it short Josh Allen just Jim Kelly?
Isn't half of Josh Allen's like importance his height? He's
Dude.
like 6'6".
This guy's really athletic. 4.65 40, 9'6" broad jump.
He's not even that much
As a
shorter than Josh
quarterback.
Allen.
Dude, this guy is insane. And he's 217 pounds, which makes he's big and he can move. All right, number 1. This is my favorite player
Favorite
in
sleeper.
the entire draft. When I rank all of these in my top 5 underrated players, this is number 1, no doubt. Daquan Evans from USF.
Oh my God, this guy again.
5'11".
He's obsessed.
He is 190 pounds. He had 3 sacks versus Alabama, Tyler. I'm going to be obsessed with this guy.
I may or may not have said this on the podcast one time, but when Noah sees like one guy, he becomes obsessed with him.
Oh, yeah. Brandon
Daquan
Guyer.
Evans,
Dude,
Brandon
Brandon
Kyron Williams.
Oh, yeah. I compared this guy to Antoine Winfield, just the way that he can play anywhere. But yeah, that's the list. And I think this is a really good list.
Devon
for
Achan.
All right.
I have a non sequitur tweet that just came across my screen that was really funny. Tom Thibodeau is going to Tom Thibodeau. Dante DiVincenzo just played 52 minutes in a game. The NBA game lasts 48 minutes. That's crazy to me.
That is a very interesting stat. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So we're going to be looking very soon at doing a mock draft ahead of the NFL draft. Noah's got another set of what position group do you have left, Noah?
Next up, the final one is running backs and tight ends.
You didn't do kickers.
So sorry. We'll include.
I can just look at like how many kicks they made.
What was that one-
kicker?
All the
Thicker
kickers
kicker?
are going to all the kickers are going to come out of the UFL.
Thicker kicker.
And they're all going to go to the Oakland Raiders in like the second round for some reason.
They're either going to the Raiders or the Patriots.
Or the Bucks will trade up and get a kicker again.
The Raiders are going to trade up to the first
Completely
pick.
normal activities.
That guy that just kicked us 2 64-yarders in the UFL.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for this week, folks. Thanks for joining us on the Dynamite Sports Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. We cross post everywhere. We also post our videos on YouTube. So please check us out. We always finish with a